Amazon shares jumping today after the company announced a $38 billion partnership with OpenAI, giving the ChatGPT maker access to Amazon's cloud infrastructure and NVIDIA's AI technology. Yahoo Finance tech editor Dan Howley joins us now to break it all down. So Dan, this agreement essentially links Amazon, OpenAI, and NVIDIA, three heavyweights in one move. And it was a little confusing to me at first because why wouldn't OpenAI just go directly to NVIDIA? So how does this work in practice? And why are we seeing so many of these interconnected AI partnerships right now?
Yeah, like this is basically kind of an extension of what we've seen in the past where OpenAI teamed up with Microsoft. They were using Microsoft's Azure cloud. This way, the infrastructure is already built. They don't have to put in for it. They just pay to rent the servers. It's the same thing here with Amazon, the same thing we also saw with Oracle. Now, just for some context, originally, OpenAI and Microsoft were linked at the hip. Microsoft was the number one provider, exclusive provider for their cloud services for AI. But then they started to allow OpenAI to use other sources for their cloud needs. Microsoft just unable to really keep up with how much OpenAI demanded as far as capacity. And so they had a right of first refusal. That allowed Oracle to come in with the Stargate project. Now, last week, we saw OpenAI and Microsoft sign a new deal, basically cementing OpenAI's ability to turn into a public benefit corporation. And as part of that, Microsoft no longer has that right of first refusal. And so OpenAI is free to go and work with the likes of AWS. Now, this is a big deal for AWS because prior to their earnings and prior to this even, there was discussion of them falling behind perhaps in the AI race just because the fact that they didn't have a huge name customer like OpenAI. Yes, they had Anthropic, but they split Anthropic with Google more or less. They said that they're going to have 1 million chips for Anthropic. Google said the same thing. So this is an extension of all of those deals.
Mark, you called Amazon's third quarter the AWS unlock quarter. So how does this news, the OpenAI partnership, really fit into that story? And is it a sign that Amazon's AI momentum, it's just sort of getting started here?
I think yes to all of that, what you just said. So I think the AWS unlock continues. We had sort of had a sneaky suspicion that there was a compute deal in the cards somehow for OpenAI and for AWS. OpenAI has been pretty public for a while saying that they needed more compute, and Amazon's sitting out there as the one major cloud vendor that they weren't aggressively working with. So. Anyway, so I think it's sort of it's a sizable deal. It adds to a backlog that the company already talked about in the month of October, which was as big as what they had signed in all of the September quarter. So it just seems like Amazon has finally gotten a lot of momentum behind it again. And the stock, the single biggest factor on Amazon stock the last 2+ years, 2.5 years, has been the performance of AWS. And now that's started to turn back up. I think that's why the stock will turn back up.
Now, these AI partnerships, they're very circular in nature, right? I mean, we have every big player, both a customer and a supplier, and it's led some investors, some Wall Street analysts to wonder whether or not we're in bubble territory. So given the results that we saw last week, what do you make of these partnerships, these various deals, and the amount of money that's being spent on AI right now?
Well, the amount of money that is being spent is unfathomable, or at least it wasn't fathomed by me and most market participants a year ago, maybe even 6 months ago. So one, that's fascinating, and it is something that investors should focus on, to the good and to the bad. But this is money that's being spent by some of the most profitable companies that we've seen in, well, maybe ever. If you look at the combined cash flows of a Google, a Microsoft, a Meta, maybe an Oracle, and Amazon. These are amongst the wealthiest, most cash endowed companies, in the market. So, and then it's interesting that all 3, 4, 5 of those companies I just mentioned are all focused on this kind of AI cloud opportunity, the goal of trying to get to AGI or to superintelligence. So that's a lot of very well-seasoned tech executives going after an opportunity that probably tells you that there's a there. And by the way, we've already seen AI deployed aggressively by Meta, and it's succeeded. It's succeeded in boosting its ad revenue, and it's succeeded in boosting its user growth and engagement growth.